Great. Maybe let me start by just checking in. Since we last met, I've been quite very much looking forward to some activities around the International Coaching Week. But I must be honest, I haven't been able to connect with the colleagues in Africa as I had thought. I think Wezi and I, at some stage, we even spoke because we were trying to find out. And then I started seeing postings on social media that the Kenyan colleagues had a very good session, and I was looking forward to that, but I couldn't join them. But anyway, we are here. It's still a International Coaching Week until tomorrow. So we might as well just dedicate our conversation to the week, and let's exchange some insights. Body-wise, I'm fully rested. I had enough sleep, and the mind, I must be honest, I've been preoccupied with getting ready for this session now. We were supposed to have Lekota today. We didn't have a good turn-up, so we decided to cancel it. So I used the afternoon to go and have a nice meal outside and a nice glass of red wine. So I'm in good mood. Spiritually, I'm balanced. And I'm looking forward to hear from each one of you and, of course, to contribute to the conversation. So that is my checking in.
Okay. I joined the Kenyan coaching week sessions, 2 of them. They were very, very good sessions. The ICF South Africa had something also on Friday, and there were sprinkling of others which you could hop in and out. I tried, I didn't sit through most of them, but I would pick up the kind of theme, and so it was a good week. It's been extremely cold in the mornings, making it rather difficult to get up early. But I'm really looking forward to this session, to discussion, and hearing other coaches' views about all manner of coaching issues. Yeah, so that's me.
Wow, great stuff. I'm glad you did manage to attend. So you share with us some of the insights that were shared with
That I
the
picked up. Yeah, sure.
Great.
Yeah, it's Wezi this side.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Yeah.
Loud and
I had a very quiet day. Saturdays are my days of worship. So I've been worshiping since morning. In the afternoon, I was listening to, gospel tunes, variety. I like a cappella, give me a sense of comfort and ability to reflect. And my busy day was yesterday. I had 4 coaching sessions, which are quite dynamic in the sense that I had totally different candidates, and I marveled at the point where we actually derive chemistry. And then I had 2 different, characteristics I got from the 4. The other 2, quite senior in their own areas, and then another 2, quite senior but basic, if you understand where I'm coming from. So it actually assists me to make a difference, and to make a difference between the 2 characteristics of the team that I had, which takes me back to presuppositions in terms of how the coaching is going to be a success. So for me, it has to reflect back to, to the basics, to say, what is it that I'm going to look for from this candidate, and what is it that I'm going to look for from this candidate? And for obvious reasons, you get that with creative, questioning, and then to bring you back to a right path throughout the coaching. So that's how I'm wanting to break the ice and check in. Otherwise, I'm in high spirits. I'm not sure how much time we have. I have another Zoom meeting at 7:30. So I suppose maybe we'll be nearing the end or whatever. I don't know.
Yes, you can just leave. You come and go at any time. We appreciate that. We are not strict with that. This is a moment to chill and just chat. And when you just say goodbye when you leave.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah. Did you say that this way you are new clients? Were you doing a first session with them?
Yes, it was new clients.
Wow. That's wonderful. It's always nice to meet new clients. Eh?
Yes.
Wow, good stuff. And remember last week, I did hinted that you come from the helping profession, and I wanted us to hear from you how did that help in transitioning into coaching. I hope you're still ready to share with us that experience. But also, I know from the corporate side. We'll come back to that one. Let's get other colleagues check in if you don't mind.
No problem.
Great.
Yeah, Katri is still struggling, is she?
Yeah, man, it's so unfortunate, Yeah, Mishti, you want to check in for us?
Yes, I was just about to go next. So thank you for reaching out, and there's some wonderful sharing that's happened. What I really liked, the way you started the check-in, Sam, when you spoke about a check-in with keeping the mind, body, and the soul. So that was very holistic and very powerful. So
Thank
I'll
you.
also talk about a creative check-in that I used for a session. So this week we did a webinar on reducing employee anxiety. And because in India currently there are strong concerns around mental health because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of anxiety in the collective. So we are doing a lot of sessions around employee well-being and mental health and anxiety. So I'll talk about the 2 coaching sessions also I did, but I just wanted to talk about this webinar and because it just kind of the check-in bit resonated pretty strongly. So I started the session with a check-in on their anxiety and restlessness using a metaphor of a traffic light. So, green is if you're feeling relaxed, from green to yellow if you're feeling a little restless or anxious. Yellow is typically to slow down, so the need to slow down. And between yellow and red, if it's the restlessness, the overwhelm is it's higher, and red is like the red flag. So if you're feeling very anxious, so that was, we used that metaphor for a check-in, and we did a check-in again at the end of the session. So it worked well at the end of the session. People did. So in the beginning, they were between yellow and red, but towards the end of the session, they moved towards yellow and green. So that was very encouraging. And now, in terms of my personal check-in right now, uh, I'll start with the body from the somatic experience. I am a little tired and drained out because this week has been very, very hectic for me. And I think I've mentioned to you that Sunday mornings, there are these sessions that are going on these days. So typically Saturday evening, I do prep for that. So yeah, body wise I'm a little tired. Spiritually I'm in a very prayer and reflective state. So tomorrow afternoon I have a spiritual session on prayers and self-awareness. So that is something I'm really looking forward to. Feeling very centered just thinking about that. So in terms of the mind, I tend to get a lot of ideas, so I'm just trying to slow down. so so that's how it is. and the 2 coaching sessions that I did this week were with 2 women who had reached out to me on LinkedIn in their early 30s, and they're looking at where they need to go in their careers. So the style of questioning was not just about the career piece, but I also did some work around their purpose and what really excites them, and where do they really see themselves. So it was not a very structured session. We did have some conversations around the previous work they've done and what is it that they can expect ahead, but it was a lot about trying to also discover purpose, and that to me was powerful, because I think I mentioned this up to a number of times that the gender piece for me, something I'm very passionate about. So as women, how to help women align with their purpose and discover their purpose is something very gratifying. So I will continue conversations with these 2 clients around that piece, but at least we started conversations around that, and they did get some insight. So that was gratifying. Hello?
We are hearing you.
Yeah, all right. So thank you for holding space. Yeah, so that's all for me. I may have to log out in a bit because of like my morning sessions, but great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, looks like we. Hello. I see Katu is still struggling. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was cut off. I couldn't hear anybody. Was Mishti continue talking?
Yes, she has finished the check-in. She says she may hop off earlier. Bearing in mind she's 3.5 hours ahead of us, so she has a morning
had
session.
a problem. I was totally cut off. My internet was off. I'm glad you continue.
Yeah, everyone is here. Who else hasn't checked in? Anyone who hasn't checked in?
Yes, Salome here. Should I go ahead?
Yes, madam.
Thank you.
Mind,
Thank you so
body,
much.
and soul.
Yes, definitely. I'm actually looking
you're
at that.
muted, Salome.
Am I muted?
I can hear.
Is it? But
Mr.
she's
Sima?
muted on my side. I can see
Oh,
her
is she?
microphone. Yeah.
All right.
Can
I can hear her nicely.
other
I can
colleagues
hear
hear
her.
me though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
No, the problem is with
I
you,
can
Sam.
hear you
I
very
also
well,
can
George.
hear.
I can't hear Salome. I wonder if everybody else can hear her.
No, I think the problem is with you, Sam. I can also hear
Where's
her.
can you hear Salome?
Yes.
We can hear Salome nicely.
Okay.
Where's can you hear Salome?
Yes, I can. That's why I'm saying the problem is with you.
It is very strange.
Sure. Okay. And
We'll
here
need to
I
coach
am
you, Sam.
I can't hear Salome. I wonder if I should go off my earphone. Let me just take off my earphones. Maybe
And here I am. I'm worried. I don't want to touch anything here.
Yeah, it's best not to touch it. If someone can hear you, then you're all right.
Because I'm worried if I touch, I will lose the contact and other stuff. But yeah, so I'm just being cautious.
Okay, I've
here.
taken off my earphone. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, George?
I can hear you loudly now. Actually,
I've got
better
a very
than
poor
with your
connection
earphones.
this side today. I don't know why.
I can hear you much better now.
Okay.
George, you want to adjudicate then, because I can't hear anything.
Yeah, no, Salom was to go. Go ahead, Salom. Let's hear your check-in.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, and greetings to everyone for this wonderful, blessed evening. Firstly, I want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm already inspired. In checking in, I'm actually I made a note on my piece of paper around the body, the mind, and the spirit. And I'm like, if I was asked to check in before connecting to this,
Salom
I would
is
have
talking.
had it. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Should I go ahead, George?
I can hear you. I'm sure the other colleagues can hear you.
Okay, let me go ahead and
Just go right ahead.
thanks. Thank you. I was saying, if I was asked to check in prior to connecting, I would have had a different story to tell because everything was so balanced. Like my body, my mind, and my soul, my spirit for that matter, was balanced. And the moment I tried to check in and struggling and finding myself lost between technology and two pieces of technology that I'm using, the telephone and the laptop and other things, everything kind of shifted and got a bit shaken. And as I was doing that, and I'm kind of reminded that is exactly what life is all about. There comes times in life where you face something that you get shaken and you are moved. And funny enough, I reflected on that moment. It was a very short moment. But at the same time, the emotion that came with that was beyond a small, short moment of the experience that I encountered.
George, I hope you are controlling. I really can't hear anything at all from my side. Just drop me a message in the chat box.
Okay. But can you hear me, Sam? No. No, Sam can't hear me. Carry on, madam.
Okay. Okay, I was saying, for that, what happened, the experience that I had kind of reminded me of what I'm passionate about. And it's literally the balancing of the body, the mind, and the spirit. But most importantly, in inspiring, empowering people to thrive through adversity. For those few 5 minutes or whatever 3 minutes, I kind of had to reflect and balance myself because I was very anxious. Like, am I going to connect on time? I was very worried at the same time. Will I be able to get this right? And I was trying to get it right so much. However, in that experience as well, I had to reflect and find myself and compose myself as well, which really reminded me, based on the body, the mind, and the spirit, that one has to be self conscious in terms of being aware at all times and being able to reflect. So, if you ask me now, Salome, body, mind, spirit, I'll say definitely my body, I'm at the better space in many ways, health wise, because I'm very active, which really helps. The mind, very clear mind at the moment. And for the mere fact, I use my Saturdays, despite how busy it is, for self reflection so that I can be in the better space to actually empower others. The spirit is very exciting in a sense that I'm in a space of gratitude where I'm just very grateful and thankful, and that is the reason that I'm thanking you. So if you're asking me, I think for me, the main thing is to get myself to the point where I'm balanced so that I'm at a better space to balance others. And thank you so much for having me on this platform. I'm definitely looking forward to learning from everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Salam. Who hasn't checked in? But I'd like to get back to you, Salam. You mentioned something that I'm sure listeners would like to talk about a little bit, and that is gratitude. You said you are in a spirit of gratitude. Let me hear a bit more about gratitude from you and anyone who might want to contribute. What does it do for you? Why do you think we should all have that as part of our daily routines? Who hasn't checked in? Okay, so I think we're good to go. And for those listening in, please drop in your chats, chat something in the chat from there. Let's hear what your views are, what you'd like to talk about. But in the meantime, we can go back now, and perhaps let's start with gratitude. It's something that really generally interests me. Your thoughts around gratitude, Salome, and then anyone else who might want to add on.
Thank you. Thanks, George. Can you hear me now?
Perfectly.
Thank you. Thanks again. Definitely gratitude is something that comes on top of everything for me. I think one thing that I can share is that we all have a story to tell, and that story is either empowering or disempowering us. And where I am in so many ways, I come from a background whereby I lacked, and I know many of us can relate with that. And for most of the time, I was looking more on the things that I never had. And in that moment, I lost such a great moment, a divine moment to appreciate the things that I have. And I learned the hard way, colleagues and everyone listening, I learned the hard way that only if I had known then, I could have had a moment of gratitude from even little things as possible. And the hard way of learning that is the losing of my parents. And the other day I was asked to give a talk in saying thank you. And this were the doctors that I was talking to. And for that moment, I was reminded that if I was given another moment to say thank you, to be with my parents, I would have said to them, thank you. And that's when I learned the hard way that one has to appreciate every small, it doesn't matter how small the thing is, but the moment you give them praise and the thanking and the gratitude to the things that you have, you literally opening doors to even more things. So for me, that is why that is very, very important. And that is why I'm kind of always sharing, because we get disempowered by the experience that we don't even see the great things that we had. I think I want to end there for now and allow others to engage. But the spirit of gratitude for me, it's something that has given me the freedom that I've been always longing for, but also the sense of abundance, not necessarily on material things, but being completely complete with myself and the power higher than myself. Thank you. Hello? Are we still there?
I don't know whether you guys can hear me. I'm listening on the public platform. Let me call in.
George, are you there? Sure.
Hi, Wezi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, George.
Excellent. Technology does have its moments. Do me a favor, tell me, Salome has just talked to us about gratitude, and I thought it's a topic that maybe we might explore a little bit. And any views around gratitude, Wezi?
Yeah, and I like the word, and thank you very much, Salome, for taking us inside of your thinking in as far as gratitude is concerned. With me, especially with respect to coaching,
Right.
I really feel, grateful for coaches when they start opening up during a chemistry session, where you actually give them an opportunity to tell their story, so that you can actually find a fit and a match and the approach towards coaching. It is quite humbling for somebody who has never met you before, but just have trust to say that I'm opening myself up to this individual because I'm going to be in a partnership that's going to be a journey for me in realizing my goals. So it's where I find, gratitude to say that who am I to listen to this, and what comes in as far as that is concerned, is to actually acknowledge one of the principles of coaching, the fact that when a person opens up, it is up to you to actually show trust and give um, an assurance to the coachee that all of this is going to be a confidential issue that's going to be between the two of us, and hence, being grateful as we move along. So basically, in as far as coaching is concerned, that's where my gratitude comes in. But basically, in life, I'm actually grateful for a whole lot of things. And Sam had indicated that you'd love to hear my story. I'm not sure if I can share it now, but
Please go ahead.
yes,
Please go ahead.
it actually
Please go
leads
ahead.
me to a point where I'm grateful. Thank you very much, George. So my life has been quite zigzaggy, if I may call it that. In as much as I've stayed in occupations for quite some time, I haven't been a job hopper. But during the stability of my occupation from different places, I have been a hopper in as far as my sidelines are concerned, because coming out of matric, whilst waiting for university entrance, I actually did private teaching. And that's where I decided, I think I'm a people's person. I think I thrive well when I interact and when I engage with people. And I only learn now with, new terminology coming in, that from long ago, I've been engaging individuals and whoever I'm with, using the head, hands, and the heart. And from then, where I was a teacher, then I moved on to nursing. And while I was in nursing, I was also engaged in community publications. I was a freelance, publisher in terms of a community newspaper.
Hello.
Hi.
Just hold,
Hello.
Hold on. Is that
Hello.
Katu?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay. That's great
Hello.
that you're in.
Can
It's
you
great
hear
you're
me?
in. Yes, we can
can
hear
hear
you.
you, Katu. Welcome.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Woo.
There
we can
you
hear
go.
you.
I am so relieved. I was so stressed. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
evening,
Good
Katu.
evening. Welcome. You caught us as Wezi
thank
is
you.
sharing his story with us. So we'll let Wezi carry on, but we'll let you jump in and talk to the listeners as well.
Great.
Yeah, thank you very much and welcome, Katu. So let me just be brief so that we engage. So from while I was doing nursing, I became a contributor in a community newspaper, which means that now I was also a journalist of some sort. And then I finished nursing. I became a lecturer. From there, I actually reached a plateau in as far as the subject matter was concerned. At that point, I think many of us come to a stage where you feel like there's nothing more I can do here, and I was I was lecturing in midwifery, I used to tell my colleagues that I know how to deliver a breech, I know how to deliver, a complex, delivery as it presents. And I know that penicillin will always be penicillin, it won't change. It will come just in variations. And I know Panado is Panado. We are just going to have variations. At that point, you go to work with the radio, you listen to work with the newspaper. But when you get to class, you actually recollect and reconnect so that you become that which is expected of you. From nursing, because I got, got to a plateau, I moved now to actually go and sell insurance. I already had 2 degrees when I was in nursing, so I decided, no, I think I must go somewhere, where I'm going to start afresh. So I started at Old Mutual, sold insurance. That also gave me an opportunity to interact with people. And from there, I then moved to SAA. And at SAA, I was head of training and then head of corporate health. And then I moved to SARS. And at SARS also, I was head of health and well-being throughout the country. And I lastly was at Barclays, and at Barclays also, I was responsible for talent management, which occupation I was also holding when I was at SAA. And then the story ends up with me now, doing coaching. But I started coaching when I was attending sessions, at SAA. I was exposed to the global, village. And then I took up coaching in Switzerland with Link International. Came back, I actually practiced it with my leadership whilst at SAA, and it actually gave me a foot into the world of coaching. And then realizing that when I was at Barclays, realizing that my time is going to be up, then I registered to do life coaching. And then I ignited my business and executive coaching with Gibbs. And here I am now, where I can confidently say I'm an executive and business coach. I am also a life coach, but I like more the business and executive coach. I shy away from life coaching for one reason or another. So that's my story.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very, very much. I suppose it's fair to say Wezi has flowed around a little bit. Right. Sam, can you hear us?
I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm broadcast. I joined from a different link now, but I'm following the story. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, Awesi. Really appreciate it. And it's always good when you get to hear the inside story of anyone, and they show you where they've been, what they have learned. We can all learn from that and benefit. And lastly, Katu joined us after much struggle.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
That was a huge struggle.
Right. So last week we talked and we said Katu will have a few words to say around coaching and her relationship with coaching girls. But give us your background for the listeners to hear, and rather your co-hosts to hear where Katu comes from.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Loud and
yes, we
clear.
can hear you, Katu.
Oh, great. My name is Katu Rabora. I am a life coach for girls and women at Katu the Girls Coach. Well, when I started life coaching, I was actually a motivational speaker. And last week, Sam did ask on the group, why did I decided to go on girls coaching, not anything else, or not coaching executive or companies or anything like that. Well, here's the thing, Sam. I decided to coach girls and women because most of the times when I went for motivational speaking, I was motivating women most of the times. And I realized that most women do not know their personal identity. So that's why I decided to venture on coaching girls and women. Hence, I decided to write a book about it, which is called Expose Your Uniqueness. It talks about self-discovery, personal identity as well. So that's where I come from when it comes to the Girls Coach. However, I do coach anybody else, but my focus is mainly on girls and women and about personal identity and self-discovery. So what happened for me to decide on to the Girls Coach as well? The other thing is the pastors' wives. The pastors' wives, for me, they are so much into my heart, because when they get married, most of the times they are told that they are supporting this man who is a pastor. At the end of the day, they don't have their own personal identity. Should the pastor tomorrow lose his job, should the pastor tomorrow end up not being in this world, what happens to this woman of God who was called the pastor's wife? So she ends up not having an identity. And lately I have been coaching pastors' wives, and I realized that most of them have lost themselves in themselves. So most of them, they are in this title of pastor's wife. But should you take away the title, the pastor's wife, this pastor's wife doesn't know who she is, most of them. Because others these days, yes, they are going to school, they are studying, they are working, but most of them, though, especially the older ones, should you take the title of a pastor's wife, the pastor's wives don't know who they are personally. So that's my other thing of going to girls and women coaching, Sam.
Wow. It's a pity Mishti has logged off, because she is big time into that topic. But we spoke about specialized coaching, and I think that yours is that, exactly that. And tell us about the book that you have written. Is it also about the same topic?
My book, Expose Your Uniqueness. The first chapter is personal identity, and where I'm talking about know who you are, know what you want. What are the things that you know about yourself that nobody else don't know? Those are the things that makes you, because most of the times we actually call ourselves by the titles that we have most of the times. And then there's a question that I asked on chapter 4. Chapter 4 is talking about you making boundaries, creating boundaries. And I said, who are you in the face of loss? If we take out your title as Katu, who's a coach, who are you as a person? So under the title as Katu, there is a human being, there is an individual who goes through stuff. There is an individual who does certain things. There is an individual who becomes herself without the title. So it's mainly talking about personal identity throughout the book, Sam. Which has topics like self-confidence, self-esteem, being the best at being yourself, things like that.
I think you and Salom will have a beautiful coffee session. Exchanging. Wow.
You don't know, Mr. Tim. I'm actually, wow. I'm like, wow, yeah. And I almost said amen and amen. So yeah.
Wow, this is profound.
Leave a comment there.
Yeah, sure. I saw a brother Ruben Rambuta coming in. I don't know what happened to him. I would have loved to invite him into the studio, because he's one of the people invited to come and share his journey with us. He's one of those guys who have made great careers in corporate, but just like George, decided that they're going to do their own stuff, including coaching. Ruben, if you're listening, please come back into the studio and tell us, what took you out of corporate into a self-employment where coaching is also one of the offerings. The stories are so profound. Salome and Kato, please talk a little bit more about the commonalities. I mean, you have listened to each other's sharing. What is coming out common between the two of you? Because I want to take this further to why it's so important that coaching should not be seen as an exclusive thing. We need to go take it out in the community, and you guys seem to be doing that. And I think people don't know what drives you to do that.
Can I, Mr. Zimmer?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much, Kato. That is definitely profound. And I can personally relate with that. I normally say to people, you can lose everything. Everything. I mean, everything. They take everything away from you. However, just don't lose yourself. Because that is where everything falls apart, literally. And I'm saying this from experience, whereby there was a time where I lost my things that I thought they are of value, things that I thought I've worked so hard for, and they were literally taken away. But for the mere fact that you don't lose yourself, it means you can come back again. So when Kat was sharing this, for me, I could personally relate. And why that approach, and why this thing of why I'm saying profound, is the fact that we all go through some life experience in life, and we all have a story to tell. And in those different stories, we end up losing ourselves, losing our identity, losing our worth, losing our greatness. And where I'm coming, and I can definitely relate with what Kato was saying, where I'm coming is that what can be done for us to be, as coaches, from coaches' point of view, what can be done for us to be reborn again? Whereby the person as an individual, you start seeing the greatness within yourself, which is not determined by where you're coming from, which is not even determined by the mistakes that you made, but determined by the fact that you are such a greatness, great power, that you are born in this world to do the great things. So for me, I can definitely relate with that. And it is so much in my heart to kind of preach that gospel. She mentioned something whereby the pastors' wives losing themselves. It's even happening in so many ways, in so many angles, and that is where the challenge is. And for me as a coach, my focus is on personal self-mastery, where you master yourself, you understand who you are. And I can talk for so long, but I don't want to go there. And that is why
Amen.
and that is why my book that is titled The Persistent Black Girl. Now when I look back at that book, I'm like, this is a story that was meant to empower me. But at some point I used that story to disempower myself. So for me, from the coaching point of view, is that if we get that sense of who we are, connect with the greatness that we are, I'm telling you, we can start sensing and testing freedom at that personal level. Definitely, I would like to engage even more on
Tell me, Salome, how do you use your story as a coaching tool?
Wow.
You are in a session with somebody that is experiencing what you have gone through.
Yeah.
But because coaching is not about telling and giving answers, but how do you bring your story to enlighten the other person and to make them see that they can overcome what you have overcome? You remember, you are now a coach,
yes,
not a counselor.
Definitely. Mr. Dima, what is happening in our coaching space? Because at the moment, I actually have associates that have learned the persistent way of doing this. And we working tirelessly and selflessly to make this even more people. So each and every individual is like, while the personal story is that we want to say to people, we are human, we made mistakes. So our story serves more as a storytelling. The approach is more about storytelling. So that our people that we engage with and we coach, we can actually be able to say, I failed at some point. And I've noticed that by so doing that, people start opening up and sharing and taking responsibility for that matter, Mr. Zima. Because sometimes we find people where they don't want to take responsibility of the problem that they are facing or encountering, and they're pointing fingers. So when one uses your life story to kind of say, you know what, at some point, this is what I've done wrong. I tell people, for example, one of my faults was to be married at a very young age. When I work with young people, I work with women, and you start using that. So storytelling for us is key. And how is that related? We actually use the book, the Persistent Black Girl book, for people to read as well at their own leisure, that they can actually identify Salome is not a saint who just came here and everything was so perfect. And then we also have developed a workbook, which is more about people having tools as well to go back and work on it. And one of the latest publication is what we call the Persistent Self-Mastery Cards, whereby people have tools that they use. So in simple terms, we use our life experience to share with people. And we're saying, even when I train the associates, I say to them, the moment you are healed, it's easier for you to share and talk about what has happened. And definitely we don't tell at all what people need to do and other things. So it's more about incorporating the storytelling in what we are doing in terms of sharing and saying we are human, this is life, it's real, and at some point we fall and then we come back again. So that's where the story comes in.
Wow. Sure. I know when I met you a couple of years ago, you had just released your book, right?
Yes.
And it looks like you are saying that out of your story came the book, and out of the book came the tools that you are now using to train associates to go out and help people who are faced with similar type of challenges. That's so profound. You've been working hard, yeah?
Definitely. And Mr. Tima, thank you. You are one of the inspirations or people that have inspired me in this journey. And out of the book as well, we now have what we call the Persistent Self-Mastery Program. Not long, we actually had youth benefiting into this program, whereby we worked with Philben Foundation, and their young people were on our program. And I'm humbled. I got a couple of people that I had a young accountant. One of them is actually an advocate, young people. And they had all these qualifications, but the sense of their greatness at the individual level was lost. And as we speak, they have a different story to tell. So this is what is happening and what things are happening by just connecting with yourself at the deeper level. We spoke about balancing the body, the mind, and the spirit. That's the gospel that we are preaching. Thank you.
Wow. Katu, I know your story is also very much, I might be wrong, but I get the impression that it's very much a personal story, right?
Yes, for me also, my
At
story
what
is
point
very
does
personal.
one get the bravery to tell it like it is?
Wow, Sam, I think you come to a point where you start feeling like it seems like there is an injustice at some certain point about life when you see other people going through the same thing that you went through. And then you start thinking, no, you know what? I went through this and this is what I did. Maybe I could help somebody else by sharing my story. When we're talking about story this week on Facebook, I think it's yesterday or Wednesday, I actually shared my personal story, my very, very personal story of miscarriage.
I saw that. Please tell.
Yes. Yes, because my biggest point was, society is very insensitive when it comes to women like us who are over 40, who are not married, who don't have children. And
it's very judgmental.
It's very judgmental. They will meet you at the conference or maybe at the home gatherings where you're having your cousins, your aunts, and everyone. And they will say to you, oh, when are you having a child? And they don't know that you have been through something like that in life. They don't know that you've lost 3 children already. So for me, sharing my story was that, guys, please, you must stop and refrain asking women when are they having children, because I've had 3 miscarriages and I'm tired of being asked, when am I having children? You see, so with other people, they don't take it well because for them it's still very fresh and very, 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 very sensitive and very close to their heart. Not that it's not sensitive for me. It's just that I think at some point I mastered how I deal with it. But for other women, even if they had a miscarriage 5 years ago, they see a baby now, Sam, they will cry. Other people start talking about children, they will cry. However, I was sharing it as well to say you need to deal with it. You need to deal with yourself. You need to deal with the loss. Before you cannot just go on before you can deal with the loss itself. After dealing with the loss, you deal with yourself, how you feel when you see the child. How will you feel when you see a pregnant woman? Because you will see them. People will not, they will never tiptoe around you because sometimes you are meeting people who don't even know you went through such, you know. So my biggest thing was people refrain from asking
So
people this.
Katu, you make me think so much aloud. Several times we come across as executive coaches. We love to call ourselves executive coaches. But George, we're not coaching executives, we're coaching people. And sometimes I wonder what the clients hide behind executive coaching. And you find the client maybe has got blockages, but you don't know what it is. How do we unlock this bottlenecking? I don't know what's the right word. When people bottle the real themselves, they just want to become successful at the executive and they want to be coaches executives, but deep down they might be having issues. And it looks like you guys have tools that we can use to even sometimes say, I'm not the right coach for this moment. Let me give you to Katu or Salom, because they will deal with this particular issue that is way out of my area of sphere, out of my sphere of coaching. George?
One key aspect about coaching, and I would like to hear your views, everyone, is listening. The more you are able to listen, not to what is said, but to what is not said, the better you're able to see that there might be a missing piece. And so when you see that, that is where, as a coach, you are in a position to perhaps say, it might be a good idea to speak to so-and-so, etc. Because not everyone will be upfront with you. And one of the key core competencies, in coaching is trust. If you build trust, you will be able to get to all those areas that are, shall we say, itching, and the person is not prepared to talk about it. But once you build that trust, they will open up. And you're in a position to say, maybe this I can't deal with it, and you give it to somebody else. Most people will come to you as executive because they want to succeed at work, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if there is an underlying issue and you pick it up, as a good coach, you must let the coachee deal with it. So that it might not be you who deals with it, but it's key. So listening becomes so important, Sam, because when someone comes to you, they don't know to what extent they are going to be vulnerable. And you and I know that everyone wants to be, you look after self first without being unnecessarily open. But if you create the utmost level of trust, you can deal with anything. You can coach a person on their career, bring in a personal goal in there and deal with it. But you have to be able to listen, and to create that high level of trust.
Beautiful. Wow. I'm checking in the chat box if there's any listener who has any issue following this exchange for us to address. The whole idea, remember, is this is a networking. This is a network platform. And I, for one, am really very empowered, because, you know, I was told that the more experienced you become as a coach, the more coaching becomes very difficult.
Yeah, you know, they say that a good coach, Sam, seeks to understand the client within their context, which may include identity, environment, experiences, values, beliefs. But you understand someone where they are at. And as you say, that becomes, well, not more difficult. You become more experienced at listening and trying to understand people where they are at, which is not easy, because we're all designed to think self. So the better you become as a coach, the less you look at self and look at other. And that's where your value comes in. You're able to meet that person where they're at, wherever that is.
Absolutely. And as they always
Can I
the
come in,
saying
Sam?
goes, yes, Wesley.
Yeah, I like what George has just said in terms of listening to the person who you are coaching, or if you are a speaker, to actually allow comments from people who are actually your audience. And what I've learned, and I suppose we all know that as coaches, it's important for us to respect other people's views, or respect the coaches' views, because we have got different world views as coaches, and also as those who are our coaches. And the important part, in as far as us accepting, you know, that they are different and that they've got their own maps of reality, it doesn't mean that we have got to accept it, or we have got to do whatever, but it's important for us to respect it, because that actually brings confidence in the person who you are coaching. And also the fact that we work from our own worldview, whilst we listen to their worldview. And that difference, it actually brings us together. And that is where we actually create the playing field in as far as coaching is concerned. So, and once that has been gathered, it leads you to understand when there is a change in behavior in as far as coaching is concerned, because basically that's what we are all about, for growth and development of those we are coaching. So once you identify behavior change, we are able to evaluate the success of the coaching process. And you will hear from the coachee, him or herself, saying that this part I didn't know about myself, and thank you very much, now that I know, who am I? And most importantly, also, in as far as passion is concerned. I mean, many people like to say that you must follow your passion, forgetting that there are a whole lot of people who do not know what they're passionate about. But when you embark on coaching, there is this zigzaggy way of a person eventually realizing what they are passionate about, without them knowing that this is my passion. But coaching allows that journey for a person to rediscover themselves. So basically, that is that. And it comes from what George has been saying, that is the listening. So listening is actually a big enabler in as far as coaching is concerned.
They say listen actively. That's how the ICF talks about. You listen actively. Yeah. And if I could also say something about what the ICF focuses on as well in coaching, the issue around being present, Sam, maintaining presence.
Yeah.
Because by being present, you're able to be curious, you know, and to ask questions and to manage your emotions and just be comfortable hearing, because sometimes as we talk, silence is a difficult thing in a conversation. But when you are present, fully present, you're able to be silent, to hold your silence whilst your coachee thinks as they go through. And as you say, most people will tell you that in any conversation, people want to ensure that there is no gap. But a good coach is comfortable with silence to enable the other person to think through and then get the light bulb moments. And so coaching is an art where the whole focus is on this individual to become the best version of themselves.
It's so beautiful, George. We always say that as coaches, we assure confidentiality, we hold a safe space for the clients. I like the way that we have allowed ourselves this evening to be vulnerable and how we have managed to hold this, what is the right way to keep the safe space so that we are able to express ourselves. And I'm fascinated by this, and I'm asking our listeners out there if they can drop in the chat box, because often we expect us to be playing the role of holding the space for whoever we are coaching, but here we are holding the space for ourselves. I don't know how you feel, fellow coaches.
If I can come in, Sam.
Yes.
If I can come in, when we talk about the issue of presence, I've realized there's the script has been changed, by the pandemic, because we are used or have been used to, face-to-face coaching where you have got a venue and you engage, and in that instance you are able to understand or pick up a person's representational, acumen, whether a person is a visual person or a person who listens more auditory, whether a person who believes in smelling things and a person who is more into digital work. But now, seeing the script has been changed, presence can be determined in a different way, because now we are online. We are not seeing each other, but out of skill as a coach, we manage to actually transmit a sense of presence to the person on the other side. And like George has been saying, to actually be silent. And when you are silent, it's an opportunity for the coachee to talk even more, and you only come in where you realize that we are moving away from the topic. But what I wanted to say is that the things that which we used to do in as far as face-to-face coaching is concerned have now created other opportunities of coaching online without seeing the person face-to-face.
Yeah, that's a skill in itself.
Yeah. and I guess there's the same. There's a difference when you see the person through a video, and when there is no picture at all, it's just the voice.
Yeah, it is quite different, because when we see a person through a video, there are many distractions. Sometimes you are looking at the person's blinds, or the person is actually exploring your environment, which takes us away from what we are all about. Whereas when you are face to face, it's easy to control the space that which you are at. Whereas you can't control it when you are online, because there may be a whole lot of distractions. Like, for instance, I was coaching yesterday somebody who stays in Benoni, and that is next to the strip, the airline strip. There's a whole lot of noises, and you find yourself now asking the person to please close the door, please do this. Whereas if you are face to face, even if the car can pass, we are able to see each other and actually communicate. Yes.
Right. And the ESCOM may go on you.
Yeah.
But
George,
thank you.
I still, if you don't mind, I still want to go back to Katu and Salome, because
Yes, let's hear them.
I think there seems to be an open invitation, especially from Salome. She says that she has associates that work with her, that she empowers. Maybe if she can share with us where she's planning to take this intervention to, and the same with Katu, with a book that she's just written, and the work she does with girls. Where is she planning to take this to? And as a member of this ecosystem, how we can help and assist or collaborate with those type of initiatives? Because the whole idea is also to help each other reach out there, because we have been challenged as coaches that coaching is being perceived to be exclusive. And then we said, no. We have people that are working in areas that you never even thought of, and referring to people like them. Am I right, Kat?
I was still waiting for Salome to speak.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
You can go ahead.
Oh, okay. For me, I just want to go back to what she said when she was speaking earlier, because she was speaking about losing identity or something like that. And I just, as I'm holding my book, I'm thinking on chapter 3, I did spoke about moving beyond loss, which the subheading was lose without losing your identity. And which I said, on the other hand, you are not what you own. This is something that somehow we misinterpret ourselves. We think we are what we own. And that's when you lose your car, when you lose your job, you become so devastated because you've made that your identity. However, moving forward, for when it comes to my book was written for mainly girls and women. So when it comes to girls, I had spoken to schools, I had spoken to the Department of Education about the distribution of my book, at least to the schools. However, this week I have been notified that I can take my book there. I can submit my book there, and then they can check if they can take in for next year new curriculum for girls. So I will see from there, because that is my heart, that I want to encourage girls with this book. I want them to discover who they are at a younger age, because some people like us, we discovered ourselves after 30 or after 20, and then by that time we had went through a lot of things that we didn't even know how to approach them. So I want this book to be in schools. I want children to start knowing who they are at the age that they are in as teenagers.
That's great that you can partner with the Department of Education to expose the book to girls young as they are. Salome?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Wow, thank you so much, Katu, for sharing that. What a divine connection in so many ways. And I thank the heaven for this platform. So from my side, colleagues and everyone listening, the persistent model, as I've said, it has been inspired so much by my life story. However, in this journey, as a speaker then, and I'm still doing motivational speaking, using real life experience, because for me it was more like, how do we bring this home, especially in our Black community, to be more specific? How do we bring it home? How do we make coaching like something that is actually accepted and something that is seen as a empowerment ways and intervention for people to move from one level to the next one at the higher level? So that has been inspired by my life story. However, I've been privileged and humbled by the people that I met and people that got engaged in the persistent, because many people joined the program and they were on the program literally for self-empowerment, and they just wanted to change their own lives, not even being aware that they also have a passion to change others people's life. And in me, it's more about saving humanity and making a difference at the bigger level with even more people. So I had to self-reflect and say, this cannot in any way be just about Salome and Salome's story. We each have our own story to tell. And that's when the heavens opened and people approached me and said, Salome, I'm interested in what you're doing. I want to do it as well. And the first thing that challenged me was that there is no way, for example, I'm just using a classic example, say to Bipilo, you're going to use my story and tell people about my story. So the persistent was going to lose its sense of reality, real life stories, because the example, when I say Bipilo is just the name that I picked, she's using Salome. People cannot relate with that. Bipilo cannot tell my story the way I will tell my story. So I was then challenged to say, how do I then empower people to use their own stories and be in the position to empower others as speakers, as coaches? And the response was amazing. At the moment, I know the numbers are not that big. I'm having on my books 4 associates that have been on the program. And those associates, actually, when we had, they've been trained to utilize the model, to use the tools as well. And the same associates that I'm having when we had the program with Philben Foundation, they were actually contributing towards that program. So another one is in Joburg, another one is based in Rustenburg. I think I have 2 in Joburg, and another one in Rustenburg, and 2 in Witbank. So that is how it has been working, and it has been more about people saying, I want to do this, I want my story. The selection criteria, I have to say, is very intense. I have to say that, because people go through the program, and only when the program has benefited them, that's when and all they can actually get empowered as the persistent coaches as well. So that's how, Mr. Tima, the model is working. However, the person then use their own stories to inspire others, because our model is about 3 things. Let me close with that. Our coaching model is that in anything that we do, even training as well, we inspire, we use our life story to inspire, we empower, we use real life experience to do personal development interventions or training. That is where self-mastery training, emotional well-being training, and sort of things. Then the other one is we enable through self-mastery coaching. So our model is based on those 3 things. Anything that we do surrounds that. I have to say, maybe we have been biased. The focus has always been with young girls and women, but we have recently been approached by other men as well, and young boys as well, with interest in what we are doing. The challenge at the moment is growing and getting even more people for us to touch even more lives and serve humanity at a greater scale. Thank you.
Wow. Beautiful.
Sam, can I come in, because I'm going to leave now?
Yes, yes. And I would maybe check out before you leave, after you have made your input, Wezi.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm wanting to come in to take on from what Salome has just shared. I am also a speaker, and I speak on any subject that which I'm requested to speak on, but my focus mainly is inclined towards Salome and Katu is, because I speak more on single women, single women, single parenting, and single aging women. And what Salome has just indicated, that she's been approached for male coaching. I usually like to stress the point that we shouldn't feel guilty when we empower young girls, because there is this tendency of some people saying, why are you focusing more on girls and not on men? My response usually is that there are a whole lot of things that which girls need to be empowered with, because from Genesis, from creation, we have been deprived of a whole lot of things because of the patriarchal nature of the environment. And in terms of not leaving boys behind, boys already have got an inherent, superiority, in the sense that they in the home, there are things that which they are not going to be doing where women are supposed to be doing. So the talent or the inherent traits that which boys have, without them realizing, it is for us as speakers or coaches to actually highlight what is it that boys and men already have by nature, and nurture it. So to nurture that which they already have, it actually allows them to discover themselves, because many complain that women are getting all of this, women empowerment, whereas men have got a whole lot of other things which are inherent, they are born with, which just need to be elicited so that it can be nurtured. And continuous nurturing of that is actually also empowering boys and those of the opposite of the opposite sex. So in actually checking out, I have been grateful to be part of this, and I hope to be part of it, especially on listening to other contributors. Thanks to all participants.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
Wezi, let's connect and have a cup of coffee and pick conversations from there.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much. I think Sam is our point of contact, so we will get to that point.
Beautiful.
Sam, it's Katu here. Can I just come in here, please?
Yes.
Wezi touched something that is very sensitive. For women, for me as a princess who comes from Venda, having a culture that I have as a young woman, when it comes to women, we have been, let me use the word oppressed. We have been oppressed when it comes to culture. We have been told you can't do this, you can't say that, you can't wear that. So when you start stepping up to become a leader in the community, or maybe you are more educated as a woman, somehow you start to be disrespectful to certain communities. So when she said that we must not feel guilty to empower young girls, I agree with her, because some of us grew up in that culture where you shouldn't even look at a man when you speak to them. Even today, some of us, we can't even look at our fathers when we speak to them, because it's a culture that we grew in. So now we want to teach these young women, we want to coach these young women to say, you know what, you can still be educated, you can still talk straight, but respectfully, but you can still know who you are and unleash that and express that, and but respectfully. And maybe our culture can accept that. And maybe our culture can see that even women can be leaders. Even women can say something and be heard. Even women can bring change in a community.
You are speaking to a very important topic in the field of coaching, which is, I will call it, lack of a better word, cross-cultural coaching, or cultural sensitivity coaching, or diversity coaching, when you start being specific. Because you can imagine, I listened to the president of the European Commission, the German lady, talking how she felt when she was in Turkey. And how she felt she was treated. It was quite a very emotional talk she gave. And then she's ended by saying, this gives us more reason not to let go of our fight for women emancipation and women empowerment. I said, wow. In fact, Prof would even share that with me. Actually, we always share these snippets from various publications when we get, but she shared that with me, and I don't know where I'll get that video and just share with you. So she's almost stopped at saying, no any other person is going to take this fight forward other than by ourselves, women leaders. And I think I agree with you that we mustn't be simplistic about these issues, but we need to facilitate. As coaches, we're facilitating this. And I think you, Salome and Katu, you're self-empowered. You are now at the level where you're no longer feeling victims of these situations. You feel like you are empowered to facilitate and assist others. And I think it's almost like you are calling. And therefore, I agree 100% with Wezi that we can't expect from your level to be apologetic about it. But there are still people out there that are trapped in those situations and don't know how to deal with it. And that's where the coaching of your coaching becomes very, very important. When you get to the executive level, you can imagine when you get at the executive level, you find people who might still be trapped in those beliefs, but unconsciously so. So the delaying of it is they're just waiting for more problems later in the future. So it's a work in progress and we're never going to stop. So I like the idea that you start very young at that level, because otherwise the problem will just mount up. And as coaches, we have to be there to facilitate the dialogue because it's not easy.
Wow. It's not easy, Sam. And I think most of the times when I am coaching a group of people, I like to say this is a dialogue, because I always want people to say what they're thinking. I also want to hear their ideas. I always want to give them the idea that I don't know everything. We are here to talk, and in talking, while somebody else there at the corner says something and the other one at the right hand says something, somehow somebody realizes, oh, okay, I've been thinking this, so I am not wrong. Somebody else is saying it. So a dialogue helps, because and that's why I moved away from motivational speaking. Sorry about that, because I know a lot of people still do that. So I moved away from motivational speaking because I thought I was just talking to those people who are listening and looking at me. I'm not sure that when they go home they do practice what I asked them to do or what I have empowered them. But then when we are coaching, I say to them, send me a WhatsApp next week and tell me, what have you done with that topic that we spoke about? I ask them to send me a feedback. Then I know we are going somewhere.
Yeah, we are moving closer to the last part of the show. But just to close that part of our discussion, there is a book that I forgot who wrote it, and they talk about the scripts that people, I don't know that they play or they go by, something like that, saying that a lot of things that we have to help people to unlearn later in their years, they were entrenched so young in their lives that sometimes it's very difficult to help them stop playing those scripts. So that's where I'm trying to connect what you guys are doing and what sometimes we pick up at the other end of coaching. And that's why for me I believe very strongly that coaching has to become accessible to everybody. And obviously it will be driven differently at different levels. I thought, yeah, sure. Remember, we came here without knowing what the center of discussion is going to be, but there we are. That's the whole idea. So, George, maybe we must move closer to checking out. I would like to just hear the coaches. I normally like to structure it. I apologize if I overimpose myself, but I always ask people to say, what have we confirmed by this conversation? What were the aha moments? What are we taking home? Is there anything that we need to change in our way of relating to our stakeholders? Sort of like that,
Yeah. Well, let me just start with the point that relates to what Katu was saying, and that's what you were saying also around beliefs. What we call your paradigm, your belief system, that each of us has in their subconscious mind the beliefs that are embedded in there simply by virtue of what your teachers, your parents, your colleagues, everybody told you. And some of them may be negative. Somebody told you you were ugly and you've held on to that, and you're 50 something and you still held on. That's a belief. Now, entrenched beliefs, our role as coaches is really to get people first to see those beliefs for what they are, and that those beliefs are false, and then to encourage people to build themselves from there. Because without changing the inside of a person, the outside doesn't change. And so the biggest problem, or the biggest role for coaches, is to try to get inside and get people to change by themselves. Not us trying to change, but by themselves. But we help them get in there for people then to become who they want to be. And that's a very important point from a coach's point of view, to say, I'm comfortable not knowing what your world looks like, but help me find it out. And when you find out, how can we move you to a better place? And so I'm proud of the work that Salome and Katu are doing with the girls, because as they say, if you build strong women's foundation, as it were, you're building a nation, as it were. You know, they once the ladies get their act together, they believe in themselves, they can grow, become business people, etc. You literally can change the way our society behaves. And such a profound thing to say. And I know some men will be growling, but that's the truth. If we get that side of things right, and those homes are built on strong foundations, we get a better person coming out of that home. And that's the person who's going to be the next leader or next leaders for our country. So, yeah, it's and the last one is about motivational speaking. I know Katu says she's moved out of that. Now, AJ, to go back, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a limit. There's very few coaches in the world, so not everyone is going to access a coach, practically. And therefore, but when I can speak to 50 people and motivate them and just leave them with one thing to do, try this. And if 5 people out of 50 try that and it succeeds, I've helped. And so we must be practical to say, with all the best will in the world, not coaches are never going to reach everybody. So if you George, I found that you can use motivational speaking as a complementing coaching. Yes. You know, especially if you are coaching groups or teams. The times where you come into a session, the people, maybe there's some challenge in a particular company where you're coaching group of people and nobody's really able to focus. Get a motivational speaker to come and shake them a little bit up and then bring them back to their coaching. So it does. These things are all interrelated, you know. Very much so. Very much so.
I found, great stuff. So, Katu, I'm sure you will consider, but everything has a role to play as long as it has to do with the assisting. And I think these times where people are dealing with so many challenges, I think you can do very well with a group coaching where you are not having a common objective, but every one member of that group have got their own issues. You get together and you make them think a little bit. And of course, if you move into team coaching, it's a different story, because then you need the captain of that team to tell you what is the issues they are trying to address. Let's say, Katu, you go to a school and the teacher wants you to assist them to address issues as a collective. So, wow. Can we check out, before we run out of time, we'll have the 15 minutes. I would like every one of us to just check out, and I hope we're also checking out on behalf of our listeners. And they can check out also by dropping some notes in the chat box. I'm watching them as well as they come in.
Okay. Okay. Let me check out. Okay, George, I did hear you very well. I will reconsider. You and Sam. I will definitely reconsider because I look up to you and I think you know what you're talking about. So
Thank
so
you.
for me
Thank you.
today, I've realized that as a coach, coaching comes with so much liberty, and it's not only about the methods and approaches that we use as coaches, and it's also about this person, this client whose life is being transformed. I mean, you are helping somebody that to become the best version of themselves, and the next time you see them doing very well, it's something to give yourself a pat in the back. So I think, as Salome said, that they use their stories for transformation. I think there is more for me to learn as a coach, because there is more. As she spoke about the use stories, I said, "Oh wow, I never thought of that, because I always just use my personal, However, I would like to know more about these approaches and the methods that we have as coaches. And also for me, the other thing is the feedback. It's very important for us as coaches to get the feedback. It's very also important for us, the coach, to have a mentor, because I don't think we can do it all alone. Somebody knows something you don't know. You can't know everything. You need to have a mentor where you go and sit down with it and say, "Listen, I'm doing this and this. Could you help?" Stuff like that. That's what I have to say now.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Salam.
Oh, okay. I had lost myself because Nikili, I was muted. So thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. From my side, definitely, I'm very grateful for this. And check out Moment and Katu. I am also kind of saying yes. Please consider the inspirational sessions. They're very powerful. So I'm adding the numbers if that will help. So
Okay.
in checking out, for me today has confirmed that the breakthrough starts with personal breakthrough and personal freedom. And for me, that is a confirmation. I'm inspired to continue doing what I'm doing and empowering even more people to actually make a difference out there. And the aha moment is that there is definitely a need. Our community needs this more than anything else. And what humbles me is the fact that there are so many of us there. And my challenge is that how do we then hold each other's hand and make even greater impact out there? And that's what I'm taking home now, that how can we support each other? How can we complement each other's work and not be competition to each other? Humanity needs us more than ever, whereby if something is working, how do I take that and add it up when then we make a greater impact out there? I think that for me, it's a key thing. I normally say all we do from the persistent point of view, we inspire, we empower, and enable people to thrive through adversity for even better lives and livelihoods. That is what keeps us awake all the time. And then the overall goal is that we want to see communities that are thriving for excellency, because the reality is that adversity will encounter at different levels. For example, when I connected now, I encountered some adversity. It might sound small. Trust me, the emotions were as big as when they were taking my house away. So, so
Wow.
thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to be part of this platform, and then even more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for joining, Salome. We really appreciate your input. George, you want to check out?
Yes. Thank you very much, Sam. As always, very, very appreciative of this platform. I think it's an opportunity to learn and to share. And I would like to get a lot more people come on board and ask questions, and we can all learn from each other. And I think finally what Salome said, that offline really to find ways of collaborating, supporting each other as we bring the coaching profession to everybody and try and make it more accessible. Yeah, I think that's it. And so hopefully we can continue the series and get more and more people to benefit. But thanks, Sam, for putting it all together.
Thank you so much. From my side, I know that the listeners out there, some of them are coaches like ourselves, and we would love to have them in the studio as well. And some are aspiring to become coaches. And some are being coached by us, and I'm glad to see some of them on the line. Because at the end of the day, it's about building the nation, building the bigger world out there. And as George said, there are not enough coaches. There's still a need for more of us. But not all of us are going to become coaches. That's also okay. So we will be meeting again next week, every Saturday. You might be traveling. Please make sure that you download the Podbean app, and then, of course, subscribe to our podcast. By midnight today, this podcast will be available at COMETSA Coaches Podcast. So you can download it and listen to it and share with many other people. We are very conscious of the fact that we are creating content. So we know every communication we have, every conversation we have, it gets kept in the form of podcast. So it has a lifelong, long shelf life. So it's really being generous of you coaches to contribute, and it will change somebody's life out there. Thank you very much for your time, but we really want to see you back next week. We will have other people joining. And whether you are driving, you are seated, it's all in your hand using your app. Thank you very much. This was beautiful. I really enjoyed every moment of it. Goodbye. Have a good week and come back energized next week, same time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.